chairman of the SEC serves at the appointment of the president and, in my view, has betrayed the public trust. If I were president today, I would fire him.
Back now, race for the White House. Surprising turn from Senator McCain today, calling for the firing of SEC Chairman Christopher Cox, former conservative congressman from Southern California. And joining me now is Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, a McCain supporter. Of course, Governor, welcome.
Thank you. It's always good to hang out with you, David.
Thank you very much. Good to have you here. We know from our colleagues at CNBC that Chairman Cox is indicating that he does not plan to stay on as head of the SEC when Bush leaves office. As a political matter, how effective do you think this is? How necessary do you think it is for John McCain to take a step like this to try to get some sort of separation from the Bush administration on the economy?
Well, this is not new for John McCain. Back in 2002, 2003, when we had the Enron scandal, he was speaking and authoring legislation to try to crack down on corporate governance, accountability, and transparency. 2005, 2006, he foreshadowed the troubles with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and offered legislation to clean that up. It didn't pass the Congress. And now he's called for a series of additional steps to crack down in this crisis and clean up the mess. One of the things that's going on is this naked short selling, which sounds like a weird term, but it's something that's of great concern, and the SEC arguably was not aggressive enough and forceful enough in overseeing that, so Senator McCain's concerned. He's also today foreshadowed something called the Mortgage and Financial Institutions Insurance Trust, which he's going to spell out in more detail tomorrow, but it would be another vehicle to intervene before these companies get into a catastrophic state.
Governor, let me show you the latest from the New York Times CBS News poll on trust on the economy, and the advantage there goes to Barack Obama, 66-58. You mentioned a couple of the line items here where Senator McCain has favored more government intervention or more regulation. The truth of the matter is that he's both has a history of favoring deregulation. He also is not in tremendous disagreement with Senator Obama on this point. They both agree, it seems, that there was not enough regulation during the Bush years. But for most voters, Governor, that you encounter every day, when they talk about economic philosophy, where's the evidence that there was a big break from President Bush? I can think of a big issue, which was taxes, and Senator McCain opposed the Bush tax cuts before changing his mind and then later backing them and wanting now to see them made permanent.
Well, Senator McCain, of course, has a record as a maverick and a reformer, and that's for good reason, because his whole career reflects that, not just on marginal issues, but big issues. For example, he took on the Bush administration, President Bush, on numerous high-profile spending issues. Barack Obama did not. In 2005, Senator McCain voted against President Bush and Vice President Cheney's energy bill because he thought it was too much of a giveaway to oil companies. Barack Obama voted in favor in that bill, and the list goes on. Those are a couple of just high-profile ones that relate directly to the economy, David.
So what do you expect? You're out in the States as a governor, as an executive. What kind of challenge does John McCain face if he gets into office and faces the economy in this kind of turmoil?
Well, a lot of Barack Obama's efforts are to try to link John McCain to President Bush. That's not working because John McCain's maverick record. But keep in mind, the Congress, run by the Democrats, is half as popular as the president. Barack Obama would be a rubber stamp for that, and nobody wants that. So John McCain has got a record of maverick reform. But here's the thing. The country is going to only improve if we get somebody in the Oval Office who's willing to work across party lines. John McCain has done that time and time again on big issues. Barack Obama has not. I think people see that. Barack Obama's rhetoric did not line up with his record. He's a straight partisan, both in the Illinois legislature and in the Congress. He's not somebody who's going to bring the country together, notwithstanding his pretty speeches on the teleprompter. You got a tight race at this point, Governor, in your state of Minnesota. The polls showing a dead heat there. What's going to make the difference down the stretch? Still going to be pretty tough for a Republican to take the state, wouldn't you say? Well, we always have a bit of an uphill climb in Minnesota, the land of Humphrey, Mondale, Wellstone, and McCarthy, but it's become more competitive. People in the upper Midwest want straight talk. They like populism, a bit of a populist, a maverick. I think some of those characteristics are going to be very appealing in Senator John McCain. So he's the kind of Republican who can win in Minnesota and Wisconsin and Iowa and places in the upper Midwest. Is he losing this change argument, though, in picking Palin in his acceptance speech there in St. Paul? That was the cornerstone. Who do you trust to bring change? If you look at the polling, he's still well behind on that score. David, if you look at the rhetoric of change, Barack Obama has voted partisan lines, according to Congressional Quarterly, almost 100% of the time. There is no issue of national significance where Barack Obama has led the charge to break the gridlock, break the partisanship, and take a risk and lead. There's nothing. He said he reached across party lines to work with Senator Lugar on rounding up loose nuclear weapons. Well, who's against that? It passed on a voice vote unanimously. John McCain on climate change, on spending, on earmarks, on importing prescription drugs from Canada, on torture, on nuclear proliferation, on energy. The list goes on and on and on. John McCain has reached across the party line, taken a beating from his own party, but he did it because he thought it was right for the country. That's what's going to bring the country together, not pretty speeches with a partisan record like Barack Obama has.
Lastly, Governor, Sarah Palin, what's the impact that you can measure in Minnesota? She's energized the base, but do you see any evidence that she's reaching out and really having an impact with swing voters?
Well, the Minnesota poll we just had spoke to that, and of course, she's somebody who can open doors and speak to groups of voters that perhaps are a little more non-traditional Republicans or independents or Democrats, for example. Parents of special needs children, for example, people who love the outdoors, people who hunt and fish and snowmobile. There's a lot of those in Minnesota. People who have concerns about being fiscally disciplined, fiscally conservative. The list goes on and on. She's got a life story that people say, hey, you know what? She's one of us.